abstract. Yeah, it's complicated. What you say, the way you act, well, it makes me so confused. I don't know what to do anymore. Can't you just make up your mind? My heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there is a vibe when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting. Still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. How it hurts to see you smile, like a dagger in me. She just seems so juvenile. I just want it to be me. I wanna set your world on fire. Oh, just so sure I'll stick around. Oh, my heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there is a vibe when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting. Still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. Oh, even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting. Still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be.
Hi, friends. This is Caitlin from Annalee Cards. I don't know about you, but I was having my own little dance party over here while that music was playing. So now I'm in a great mood. I'm ready to talk cards. I do have my project here as a little refresher. So my card for the Card Maker Summit was talking about like an easy and simple way to make a scene card that might be a little more digestible or a little easier for people who are just starting out with their scene cards and coloring. I did some ink blending for the background instead of worrying about coloring that. So we did some masking and, oop, my face is in the way, and some Copic coloring. So that is my favorite thing to do is scene cards, but I know that not everybody is ready to kind of dive into layering everything all at once. Or maybe you don't have time to layer a million cards to make a scene. So using a stamp like the one I did from Sweet November Stamps really helps kind of take that work out of it. And then I love combining my ink blending and my Copic coloring. And also, I love that this is technically a fall card, but I think it can be used for year round. And I love encouraging people to use products for seasons and reasons other than they were originally intended or titled for. I think that we shouldn't be restrained by the name on a stamp. So I was just really excited to make this one, and I'm excited to see what your questions are. Please, if anyone has questions, how do I select my color palette? Christine, that is a great question. Thank you for that. I guess my first thought is the season or the occasion, right? So I wanted this to feel like an early spring card because it's March and I knew we were going to be making it now. So I went with like the softer kind of rosy pastels See if I hold it up closer, if it'll focus on that instead of me. The rosy pastels, the soft kind of purples, and then that fresh kind of spring green. Versus if it was like a really exciting birthday card, then I would go maybe a little brighter, a little more in the primary colors. Same with summer. Summer, I like lots of hot pinks and bright yellows, really like fun and exciting. And then fall, my default is obviously kind of the pumpkin spice family, kind of the more jewel tones and burnt oranges and things like that. So I really try to let the occasion or the season that I'm creating for kind of dictate my color palette. That was a really good question of Christine. Christine's got a lot of good questions. What are my favorite markers for skin tones? So my go-to markers for kind of my Caucasian skin tone is kind of the E, maybe 13 to 11 as my darkest. And then I always have them right here. My E00, and if needed, my E000. And I like to add my E04 as my shading, like darkest color. And then for deeper skin tones, I either stick to the E teens, so like 18, 17, 15, or I will switch and bring in some of the E20s. So kind of the 10s and 20s family with a little E00 mixed in. If you have a good range of those, you can cover most skin tones. And I do like putting multiple skin tones in my cards. Can you use markers besides Copics? 100%, Lisa, you definitely can. I personally, most of my time card making, I have only used Copics. I did start out with Spectrum Noir, but the nibs just weren't giving me the effect I was looking for. But I do know a lot of people are loving the Olo markers, OLO. And I know My Favorite Things and Pink and Maine both sell those. So if you're looking for Olos, you can look there. I know they have a lot of the colors, or all of the colors probably. And I know a lot of people are playing with the Ahua, something like that. But I personally haven't tried either of those. I am so far a diehard Copic girl, and I don't have the whole collection. I know it probably looks like I have a good bit, but this collection has taken me 4 years now to put together, and it's not even close to the whole thing. So you don't need the whole thing to be able to make some beautiful scenes. Kelly said, what is your favorite paper to use? So for my Copic coloring, I use the Copic Express It. I usually just get it on Amazon. I do have it linked in my supplies list. So it comes like this, Express It blending card. That's what I use for all of my Copic color images. As far as like cardstock, I do my colored solid cardstock either from Pink and Maine or My Favorite Things. And for pattern paper, I'm a little pattern paper hoarder. I love them all. I love Lawn Fawn, My Favorite Things, Pink and Maine, Whimsy stamps, honeybee stamps. I love a good pattern paper. I have quite a little collection going over there. Pam asked, what are your favorite inks and markers for blending? So markers wise, I do really only use my Copics. But for ink blending, the ones that I used in my video are the Catherine Pooler. And I really love these because they come in multiple sizes. So like the commitment that you're making, you can decide for yourself. And the small ones come in sets and they blend out beautifully, beautifully. Those are a little bit newer to me. I've been playing with those for around 6 months or so, but I do love them. I also have the full line of Distress Ink cubes. Again, for storage and commitment reasons, I really love a cube, like a smaller one. And with that being said, of course, I also have the My Favorite Things cubes. And I just store those in those little bead containers, but those are my top 3. Distress Ink, Catherine Pooler, and My Favorite Things are my favorites for ink blending. Stacy asked, how do you come up with an idea and technique you will use when making a card? Cece, sometimes, so I do a lot of design teamwork. I work with Pink and Main. I guest design for my favorite things. I work with Sweet November Stamps, Purple Onion Designs. So with all of those design teams, right, I usually have some kind of assignment. So there might be a specific stamp set that I'm being asked to use, or I might have a bunch that I can kind of pick from. So in those scenarios, my topic is kind of already chosen for me. And then I think it's fun to kind of challenge myself and almost make like a little story, right? So, like, kind of like with the stamp that I used, it's like, okay, well, it's two little fairies out in the woods drinking their coffee, having like best friend time. So, where do I want them to be? Are they sisters? Do they look alike? Are they best friends and they can look different, right? It's like building kind of that little story to go with it. And sometimes if I'm stumped, I like to use a color or a sketch challenge. Or there have been times where I've made lists of like color options, topic options, and I'll like pick a number and go through and like eliminate until I have my options. And craft roulette on YouTube is also a great source of inspiration if you're looking for kind of color topic elements to add in. I love them. I love Mary Gunn. She's great. Susan asked, do you have other hobbies or outlets for when card making gets too stressful? Susan, I do. It's funny because card making used to be the hobby for that and I've slowly shifted away. But I have an art background in costuming, special effects makeup, beauty makeup. So yeah, sewing, um, and all of that. But some I find too that like I Copic color so much that sometimes just switching and kind of challenging myself with like watercolor pencils or watercoloring with like my distress inks. Sometimes even just that is enough of a shift to take away any kind of stress or pressure that I have put on myself. So I can still be making cards to share or send out, but maybe it's different enough that I feel like I've made a change. Susan also asked, after your marathon of pink and main embossing powders, which colors are your favorite? Oh, Susan, I'm glad that you stuck through that marathon. It was a lot. I do still have all my swatches. I think that platinum ring was a surprise hit. Not quite gold, not quite silver, very fun. And I do love that denim glitter embossing powder has my heart. It's just such a unique blue. So those I would say are my top two favorites. Love those. Jill said, do you have a set of colors that you recommend for a beginner? I'm going to guess, Jill, that we're talking Copics. And that's kind of a tricky question. What I would say is I don't recommend those pre-made sets that Copic sells, where it's like one red, one yellow, one green, one blue, because you're not going to be able to shade with those. You can color with them, but you're going to just get flat color. So what I did is I kind of decided I wanted to focus more on critters and people, and then from there, maybe florals. So I started with E markers because that will do critters and people well. And I started with like a couple greens and like a couple pinks and maybe like two purples. And I started with combinations of three. So like a E13, E11, E00, and I just played with those for a while. And then when I could, I added in like a G99, G94. And for a while, just those two greens, being able to play with that shade and light worked while I was learning. So I think it's better if you know you're only going to do florals and you're not going to do people for a while, you're not coloring in people, then stick with maybe those pinks and reds or blues, whatever your favorite flowers are. And maybe buy 6 different reds so you can really play instead of splitting them with the E's because you're not going to need those. But definitely don't feel pressured to buy the whole thing. And I think those sets set you up for failure because you're just going to have to buy more to supplement them. Anita asked, how long have you been paper crafting and what is your favorite technique at this time? So started, um, I started paper crafting and card making because when my now 7-year-old was born, technically while I was pregnant with her, I had severe peripartum anxiety. So while I was still pregnant, very severe anxiety. And so the first thing my therapist told me was to limit what content I was consuming. And so I stopped watching movies on Netflix. I stopped watching anything that could potentially be dramatic or upsetting. And so I started watching Bob Ross, and I quickly ran out of Bob Ross episodes. And so I went to YouTube to find artists that were sharing their work. And I found Lon Fawn's instructional videos. I found Kelly Taylor, previously Letivola, and her like watercoloring and stamping and beautiful coloring. And I found some Stamp It Up instructors that were making very peaceful and beautiful content. And so I started watching those women and all of their amazing tricks and tips. And then Lon Fawn came out with a tiny, right, one of those little itty bitty guys, pumpkin spice stamp set. And I am a pumpkin spice girl through and through. No shame whatsoever in saying that. And so that was the one where I was like, well, I'll just buy that one stamp set because I've watched all these people. I can make a cute little thing for my mantle and frame it, and then I'll just be done. And now 6 years from then, here we are. And my favorite thing to do is definitely scene cards. That's my top technique. I love a scene card, whether it is a more simplified version or I have some of my more in-depth scenes that I'm like really proud of. I frame them and I keep them. So that's all hand colored from digital stamps. But scenes are where my heart is at for sure. Matt Forward said, hello, love your card making and coloring. Inspired to hear how you get such a great look. Practice. Practice is, I know there are colorists who get to color every day. I do not. I have a full-time job. I have 2 girls, an amazing husband who supports all of this madness, but I don't get to color every day. And I think that's good sometimes for me to take a break. But watching other colorists and practicing, even if it's casing them and basically like copying, as long as you're giving them proper credit if you decide to post it, I think is amazing. So the number one person I would recommend you follow or check out is Amy Young. She has a Facebook page called Adventures in Coloring with Amy. She is also the illustrator for Sweet November Stamps, who did the stamps that I used for my card. She goes live on the weekends and she does crazy, super in-depth, very like slow and patient and will answer every single question. And it can be a couple hours, but you can chunk through them. That's how I kind of learned how to color. And then I've just started practicing and trying out my own things from there. You are also more than welcome to follow my YouTube channel, Caitlin Annalee Cards. I do post videos weekly, and most of them are Copic coloring based or scene based. I do throw in some foil and some other techniques here or there for fun, but mine are sped up. So I try to explain what I'm doing, but they might not be the most beginner friendly versus someone like Amy who really breaks down every single step along the way. Nancy asked, do you blend across color families, YG with G, or stay within the same color family? Nancy, I do love crossing those bridges. And I think if that's something you are interested in, the best thing you can do if you don't have one already is pay the like couple dollars for a Sandy Allknox hex chart. If you Google Copic hex chart, it's like the main thing that comes up. Sorry, it's like blowing that out. But this lays out all of your colors kind of in color order instead of number order. And it makes it really easy to see where YGs and Gs kind of overlap, right? So you could use that YG63 with the G94, and those will work together because you can see them right next to each other. So if you want to kind of be able to use more color families with having to buy less markers in each family, that's the best tool I would say for you to look into. All right, well, that's a wrap. If you guys have a time or are interested, please go check out my supplies list. There's an extra special bonus on there for you from Sweet November Stamps as a thank you to me and you for all your support. I hope you have an amazing rest of your summit, and I will see you guys soon.